the website that shouldn't exist. This isn't a story I enjoy telling, but people need to hear it. It happened in 2012, back when I was a teenager, and it still keeps me up at night. There's no way to prove it, but I swear it's true. If you dig too deep online, you might find things you were never meant to see. That's what happened to my friend Eric. He was just a normal kid, like me. But one night he found a website that changed everything, and it ruined him. Eric and I spent most of our free time online, like a lot of teenagers back then. We'd scroll forums, troll in chat rooms, and try to freak each other out with weird websites. It was all harmless fun, until Eric found it. It started when he messaged me at 2 a.m. one Friday. "Dude, I found something insane," he wrote. I asked what he meant, and he sent me a link, www.motherhorseeyes.net. The site was bare bones, a black background, plain white text. No graphics, no ads, just a bunch of cryptic phrases and broken sentences scattered across the page. Things like, "The flesh gates are opening. She sees all. She knows all. Do not let them stitch you." At first I laughed it off. It looked like someone's failed attempt at a horror ARG. But Eric was obsessed. Over the next few days, Eric spent every waking moment digging through the site. It had no navigation, no clear structure, just a single endless page of text that seemed to change every time you refreshed. New phrases would appear, and old ones would disappear. Eric found a way to leave comments, even though there wasn't an obvious comment box. He typed random words into his keyboard, hit enter, and his messages appeared. He said the site even replied to him. I didn't believe him until he showed me a screenshot. "Eric," the reply read, "why are you so afraid?" Eric started acting strange after that. He wouldn't eat lunch with me at school. He stopped replying to texts. When I went to his house, his curtains were always drawn and he kept the lights off. His mom said he was going through a phase, but I knew it was more than that. One night he called me, his voice frantic. "I figured it out," he whispered. "It's not a game. It's not even a website. It's alive." He said the site was showing him things, visions of places he'd never been, people he'd never met. He claimed it could predict the future. "It told me my mom's gonna get sick," he said, and it was right. I tried to convince him to stop visiting the site, but he wouldn't listen. He said he couldn't. He'd started hearing whispers even when he wasn't online. He swore the words from the site were written on his bathroom mirror in steam after he showered. A few weeks later, Eric completely disappeared. His mom said he'd been staying at a friend's house, but I knew that wasn't true. No one had seen him. I finally broke into his room one night, desperate to figure out what was going on. His computer was still on, the screen glowing in the dark. The website was open. Only this time, it wasn't just random phrases. It was pictures. Grainy, black and white photos of people, hundreds of them. Their faces were blurred, but they all had the same expression, hollow, wide-eyed, like they'd seen something so horrifying they couldn't look away. And then I saw one photo that froze me in place. It was Eric. He was sitting in his room, staring at the screen, his face gaunt and pale. But the photo wasn't old. It showed him as he looked now. And in the corner of the image, barely visible, was a shadowy figure standing behind him. Eric came back 2 days later. He didn't speak, didn't eat. He just sat in his room, staring at the wall. His parents put him in therapy, but he wouldn't talk to anyone. When I finally saw him, he looked like a ghost. His eyes were bloodshot and his skin was paper thin. I asked him what happened, and he whispered one sentence before bursting into hysterical laughter. "I found out what's behind the screen." That night, Eric destroyed his computer. He smashed it to pieces and threw the remains into the river. But it didn't help. He started seeing the shadowy figure everywhere. He called me one last time, crying. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, it's there. The next morning, his mom found him in his room. He'd written one final message on the wall in Sharpie before he was gone. It said, "Do not let her see you." I've tried to find the website since then, but it's gone. The URL leads nowhere, like it never existed. I don't know if it was a prank, a virus, or something worse. All I know is that Eric wasn't crazy. And if you ever stumble across a site like that, one that feels wrong in a way you can't explain, close the browser. Walk away. Because some things on the internet aren't just hidden. They're waiting.